So this is a follow-up video from the break-even calculation, but it's looking at break-even charts. So we're going to just quickly look at how to actually draw a break-even chart, or what to look for within a break-even chart. The first thing that I would consider is the costs. So usually in a break-even chart, you should draw two cost curves. So you should look at the fixed cost, which should be a completely horizontal line, and the reason why it should be completely horizontal line is because it's not based on your output, so you have to pay it regardless of what your output is. The next one is your total costs. Now your total cost should always start from your fixed costs, and the reason being is because even if you've made zero output, you'd still have your fixed cost to pay, because remember, it doesn't depend on your output. And then obviously the more you produce, then those total variable costs will start to be added onto your fixed costs to equal your total costs. So you can see here the difference between this and this. So all this area here is your total variable costs, and that's why you don't need to draw your total variable costs, because it highlights it there for you. So once you've done your cost curves, then you can start to introduce your total revenue. Now your total revenue, it will start this time from zero, and the reason being is because when you sell no products, you generate no revenue. So obviously the more you sell, the more we'll see that that revenue curve go up. Now what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to show you a completed break-even chart. Now this completed break-even chart, you should be able to see the break-even point, you should be able to see the profit levels, the losses that the business would be making. You should see the whole break-even picture. So we can see here that you've got your fixed costs as your horizontal line. You've got your total costs coming directly from your fixed costs, and then you've got your total revenue coming from zero going up here. Okay. The difference between total revenue and total costs is obviously your profit, because that's the formula. Total revenue minus total costs gives you your profit. At this point here, we haven't broken even yet, so we can see that there's a loss being made, and at that point where total revenue meets total cost, we get to see our break-even point. Now again, just remember the formula of margin of safety is your full capacity, or your maximum output, minus your break-even point. So we can draw an arrow here from our break-even point all the way to our maximum output, and we can see that is our margin of safety. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a question, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it and have a go. So this was a question that Tutor to You did on one of their resources, and the reason why I've used it is because I like it in terms of only having two curves. This makes it a little bit more complicated. So it doesn't have your fixed cost curves, which straight away would actually trick some students. We can obviously see where the fixed cost would be though, because we can see where total costs would start from. Total costs start from here, and remember what I said, fixed costs, add your total variable costs equals your total costs. But if they've made no products, they're not going to have any total variable costs, therefore that suggests that it's your fixed costs are here. So that's where your fixed cost line would go. Now on the chart, you can see that when total revenue meets total costs, it's roughly here, okay? And we can see that roughly that's 600. Now if you wanted to just double check, and you wanted to make sure, and do the formula just to double check that you haven't misread it, or maybe the scale is quite hard to see, the graph's quite hard to read, then you can easily do that. First of all, what I would do is I'd pick a point on the graph which was quite easy to read, so for example here. So we can see the total revenue at 1,000 output is £9,000. So if we get our total revenue and we divide it by our total output, and we can get the price, the selling price of £9. So we know that our revenue at this moment in time is now £9. Now we need to work out our total variable costs. So we know that our again at the same output, so if we pick 1,000, our total cost is £7,000. Now we know our fixed cost is £3,000, so we simply do 7,000 minus 3,000, which gives us a total variable cost of £4,000. 4,000 divided by our output of 1,000 gives us a variable cost of £4. So for every product produced, buy this business, it cost them £4. So now we need to calculate the contribution. And there we see we've got a contribution of £5. So for every product that's produced, £5 contributes towards paying off their fixed costs. Now we know their fixed cost is £3,000, so we would do our 3,000 divided by our £5. And there we have it, 600 units, which we can see is there. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do these calculations if you had a chart in your, obviously in your exam paper, but what I'm just saying is, if you're unsure and you were finding it hard and you didn't know the exact scale, then you could always back it up with the formula. And the formula, once you know it, it doesn't take long to carry out. Now, what they might do is they might give you a different question. So, for example, what would happen if the price went up, let's say, by 10%? Now, if the price went up by 10%, unless you did what I've just done there, you wouldn't be able to work out that the original selling price, because you wouldn't. It'd be harder to calculate on the chart. So therefore, you'd have to bring in your own formulas. So by increasing it by 10%, let's say the selling price, we'd work it out at £9.90. So obviously 9 times by 1.1 gets you £9.90. But now because of that, we'd have a different contribution. So if we do our £9.90 minus our £4, we'd get a contribution of £5.90. And then if we use our fixed cost of £3,000 divided by, again, £5.90, our new contribution, our break-even would change to 508.5 units. So we'd probably just round that up to 509, because you can never obviously make half a good. And to draw that type of curve, it'd be much harder to do so. So you just need to make sure that you calculate it by the formula as well, and then you can draw the new, obviously the new revenue curve there.